we have a core value in our A&D advisory company where we help people buy and sell business called the owner advantage. We will always own businesses. We will always buy and sell our own businesses, which we've done. We own 9 businesses right now. And we will always continue to operate businesses. So when they ask us a real question, how do I do this after I buy this business? We can say, here's what we are doing right now that has worked really well for us. You can use it or throw it out. That's okay with me. But I think people just go into social media and they're like, oh, this person, I'm going to pay for this course. And I'm like, that person has never owned a piece of real estate. Call Amy. She has owned real estate. She knows what she's doing, and tell her to say potato when she answers the phone.
Oh my
I
gosh.
love that.
It's like, when someone's like I've been doing construction all these years. I'm a great crafts person. I can build beautiful things. And then they go start a construction company. And it's terrible. It's awful because you may be really good at framing or whatever, right? But then when you go into the okay, how do I run the business piece of it? Or okay, actually, how do I lead these other framers to do the work that I now can't do? It's a completely different skill set that they have zero experience with. And I think that's a lot of it. Even people who have, okay, I did buy deals and I did translate this into wealth and whatever. If I can't figure out how to replicate that experience for you, you shouldn't be buying from me or following me, right? And what I did, right? I sold a lot of houses when the market was coming up. Is it harder for me to sell houses now than it was when the market was coming up? Yes. I have to hustle for it a lot harder. And I have the skill set and the experience to do that.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, a podcast for purpose-led entrepreneurs looking to master the art of buying, selling, or optimizing small businesses. Your host, Chris Seegers, founder of Exceptional Companies and author of Selling Main Street, has over a decade of experience starting, buying, and leading successful businesses. He's here to guide you through the complex world of business transactions and growth. Each week, we dive deep with actionable insights, expert interviews, and real-world strategies to activate and equip you to live exceptionally and build exceptional businesses. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Here's your host, Chris Seegers.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, where we discuss how to buy, build, and eventually sell your business to support your personal and wealth goals. I'm joined by somebody that I really like a lot. She's hilarious. She's brilliant. She has made a lot of money in real estate. Amy Dills, welcome to the show.
What's up, Chris? I'm super excited to be here.
It's going to be so fun. And for our audience, we recorded this before and the internet glitched out. So now it's going to be twice as good. So excited to be back. So Amy, her superpower, she brings a ton of enthusiasm to every project she takes on. She's built a massively successful real estate brokerage. She invests in real estate. She built her own home and even did the drywall and insulation and pretty much everything. And she's like us. She's trying to build an exceptional life for her and her family. So that's why I think we like each other so much. So Amy, start with a little bit about your story and why you pursued real estate and business, and tell us about Brick and Banister, all of the fun stuff you've been doing.
Oh my gosh, that is just so nice. I always like it when I get to hang out with people who make me feel pretty right off the bat, because I just don't think there's enough of that in the world.
Me too.
Me too. So thanks, Chris. Okay, where to start? We can start 1 million years ago if you would like. I was just a teeny tiny little 20-something and had just graduated college. Found out that I was expecting my first child, and also that I no longer had health insurance because expecting a child was a pre-existing condition. So, of course, I tried to find a solution to that problem. And at the time, the solution happened to be buy a house because the president will give you $8,000. So I couldn't get insurance now that I was a grown up, not on my parents' insurance, but I could, in fact, buy a house. And this was in 2009. And so houses were cheap. It worked out really great. And I went to a bank and I went to go get pre-approved to buy a house. And man, was that a nightmare. I think I went to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different banks. And I probably burned through 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different real estate agents. And just to remind you guys about the olden days, I believe Zillow was a thing, but I had my very first iPhone in my hand and I definitely was not using it to look at real estate. It was a social media only novelty toy at the time. So these real estate agents would actually come to my house or my apartment that I was renting and give me a paper contract of the houses we were going to see and a printout MLS sheet. So it's a weird world. Anyway, I landed in this house and it cost $94,000 or $96,000. And I was able to purchase it with an FHA 203K loan, which nobody's ever done since, basically. This is like an FHA rehab loan. So not only did I get the 8,000 bucks from the president after I closed on the house and did my tax return so I could pay for the birth of my child, but the HUD gave me 4,000 bucks and I was able to get like, I don't remember exactly what the number was, but like 25K to like redo the siding and fix a couple of things up so I could move into the house. And this is what really planted the seed for me that like home ownership is the foundation of wealth building. I wouldn't have told you this at the moment, but like now looking back, it's like that really is the foundation of building a life the way that you want it. So that's like really where this all started.
I love it. So you buy this house. Did you actually have to rehab it, or was it in pretty decent shape?
I mean, a lot of people would have lived there just fine, but I am a whiner. So we did some stuff. We pulled up carpet, refinished floors, painted some stuff, but it was really like, it was a cute little 1965 Rambler. So it was fine. It didn't smell bad and we could really move right in. But this was where I learned how to paint and how to remodel and how to get new to you appliances. And, all of that kind of stuff was really built in there after my daughter was born. Because I don't know if you remember, after you had your first child, how different was it for you about what you thought it was going to be like to be a parent to what it was actually like?
Are you saying
that
that's comparative to the home ownership?
Yes.
I feel like
Okay.
I've told my friends having a kid and renovating a house are the same exact thing. You get into it thinking it's going to be awesome. It's terrible. And then you're like, we're never doing that again. And then 2 years later, you're like, we should do that again.
That's literally it, right? So like before my child was born, I was like, I'm going to go to grad school. She's going to come to class with me. It's going to be no big deal. My life is not going to change. I just now have this cute accessory, right? And spoiler, it didn't actually happen like that. She was not a cute accessory. I went almost nowhere because she was a screamer. And it just like, it never really turned out how it was. So how I processed her energy and my like, oh my gosh, what am I doing, was walking around the neighborhood, looking at houses, and then going back and getting on like the county GIS and like seeing how this, like I was really kind of learning how it worked before I got into real estate. And the other way that I managed that energy was like doing rehab projects, right? Like, so my first big project I ever did was gutting a bathroom, and I brought my dad in. We like we did demo day, and we like, threw drywall out the window into a tote and like, some stuff that you've just never done before when you're 20 something, right? And that kind of taught me this, like, you can really take what you have and turn it into what you want. It doesn't have to be exactly the way you want it up front. And I think there's a lot of power and growth and magic of like, who am I and what do I want and what's actually important to me that happens through doing those projects.
I love that. And real estate is such a forgiving asset. If you buy it decently well and you hold it long enough, you're going to do well with it, most likely. And so it's such a great spot just to start putting it into practice. Like, go find a project that's not going to, get some counsel. Make sure that the first deal you buy isn't one that is going to be really bad, because that's going to set you way back and make you not want to do it ever again. But there's tons of people that have done it. Go find somebody that can mentor you, and then go do a deal. Like, go get something done. It doesn't have to be huge. Go do something. So you do this first deal, and then now you've got the bug, and you're trying to balance life and real estate and other things. So how'd you start getting into selling real estate and building the brokerage as well as continuing to invest?
Yeah, that house is really like the seed for all of that, because while I was there, I was learning how to be a mom. I was learning how to be a grown up. I was learning how to take care of a house. And during that time, I did my first budget, and it wasn't real great. It wasn't real great. So I was like, okay, I should do something else. And I was reading Total Money Makeover, and Dave said, if you aren't making enough money, you should get another job. And I was like, oh, okay. And at that time I was getting ready to sell the house because you had to live there for 3 years, so you don't have to pay it back. And I was talking to this other real estate agent who actually helped me sell it. And it was kind of like, Again, not a great experience. And I was like, maybe I'll just get my real estate license, right? So I sold that house with her and I got a big check and I was like, sweet, this is awesome. Let me go buy another house. I'm going to get rich doing this, right? And so I go to the next house with a different real estate agent and he just started telling me, no, you can't. And I know there's a lot of women out here in the world who, when a man tells them they can't do something, they are like, watch me. And that's sort of what happened. So I went and got my real estate license. I did not buy that house, but I proceeded to sell a whole bunch of houses. So many houses that, in fact, I owed the taxes, or I owed the IRS as much in taxes that year as I had earned in income the previous year. And I was just like, this is super not cool. I need to solve it. Now I've created a new problem.
Let's pause there. So what
Okay.
did you do differently? Because real estate agents are, what's the fail rate? Like massive, right? Like if you
numbers, yeah, like I don't know, between 5 and 10% of real estate agents never even sell a house at all.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's like you're in the top 15% if you sell more than 20 houses nationally.
So what were you doing?
So a lot of people
differently?
don't do that in their first year.
Yeah, 100%.
What was I doing differently? I always am running my mouth on the internet. And at the time it was Facebook and it was very, I'm getting my real estate license. Look at this dumb thing they're teaching me in class. You guys know how many acres are in a square feet in an acre? You know, right? Like just stupid. Come along with me. And to be really honest, that type of content still works really well for me. I enter a room of people who I see periodically and they tell me what I'm up to and how busy I am, which I'm always like, wow, that's crazy because I've never seen you comment or like or post on anything. But that's really how you kind of build those relationships where people are like, who's a real estate person? It's Amy. You should call her. She knows about it. And then you start kind of building that referral based brand. But I think the most important thing for a new real estate agent or a real estate agent who's trying to get traction and build their business up to a higher transaction volume is really just like deciding and believing that you can sell as many houses as you want to sell. Like there's no, I'm new, I just want to get my first deal. It's like, dude, if I don't have a closing next month, I need to go get a closing next month. And then you go find it. It doesn't have to be, there's no time requirement.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to actually expand that. I think it's more sales. Like these are the things that define a good, successful salesperson. Now you're selling real estate, right? Like that's kind of the product you're selling. But what are some of the things that you think as you coach your team? I always tell folks, if you're young, learn how to sell. It actually doesn't matter what you sell. You should eventually figure out how to sell something that's a big check size. And the bigger, the better. But start selling whatever. And I've been teaching my kids how to sell it. They're like, hey, Dad, I want to do this, that, and the other. I want to buy that. I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to pay me for that? They're like, oh, I don't know. I didn't want to pay you for it. Well, I'm like, okay. So I'm already working them a little bit. But as you coach your team and you think back to that young Amy, what are some of the things that a good salesperson does really well consistently over time?
I think it's such a good question. And I think it's a little bit different now in our very AI over input world that we live in, right? Like for me, it was more about like, how do I get at people who want the thing that I'm trying to do? And I think now it's still that, but it's like, how do I also guide people through the noise and help them figure out what they actually want? Because my experience with humanity right now is people are generally overwhelmed. And when they're overwhelmed, they don't move, they just sit. And it's not because they don't want to move. And it's not because there isn't a great house for them. It's not because they can't afford a house. It's because no one has taken the time to ask them the right questions to figure out what their problem actually is. Because I think people move, and this could be any kind of movement. It's not buying a house. It could be, buying phone or car or computer. They move because they're in pain or because they see pain coming down the road. Mm-hmm. And very infrequently do they move because they're jazzed about moving, right? Like the number of people who call you up and are like, I'm ready to buy a house is like less than 1% for sure. And for more people, it's like, I'm getting old. My knees aren't working. I got to get into this down, whatever. Or they're like, oh, shoot, this is too expensive. We're breaking up. There's a divorce. Or the other way, I'm having a kid. I'm having 7 kids. Which one of space? Like this space won't work. And so a lot of times people are just like, I'm not going to act on this. I'm not going to act on this until it's too painful that I have to act on it. And then they make these like impulse decisions and they get something they're dissatisfied with and then they get stuck again. And so I think when I'm coaching or speaking to our agents, our first hurdle that we have to get over is like, this is a dumb one, but it's like, actually, I'm a person and you're a person and we're communicating as people. Right. So even when you call someone up, like that, like people will be like, are you an AI? And I'll be like, no, dude, I'm a person. And sometimes they still don't believe you. So once we get over that,
Wait, hold on. So what do you say to convince them you're not an AI?
well, you
What's
can't
something
say
that
I'm
AI
a
would never know?
person.
What do you say?
Okay, this cutie Taylor on my team was doing some calls this morning, and she said somebody asked her to say potato to prove that she was a person. They're like, hey, will you just say potato right now? And she was like, potato.
Why?
So then they
Why
believed her.
potato? Why was it potato?
I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I just think like the more you can, like when people start making phone calls, they're like nervous to call people because no one ever calls or in text. And they're like, what if I trip on my words or I don't know what to say or whatever? And like you choking on your tongue makes you sound like a person. So it's
Yeah.
actually working for you these days. Because when the AIs do their little glitchy pause, like you still know it's an AI.
So it's really interesting. I want to camp on this and I want to get your opinion. So I've actually pushed that into our processes of guys, don't let AI draft your emails and have them be perfectly polished, have them be human. Honestly, and like you don't want bad grammar because that makes you look really unprofessional, but I want to talk like a human being. And so I don't know. I still don't know where all the commas go in a sentence. I don't know if you were taught that in middle school or whenever we were supposed to learn that, but I'm like, I feel like this sentence needs like 5 commas. I'm not sure where they go. I'm going to put one here and maybe there. But I've really told the same thing, like, guys, people resonate with a little bit of messy because human beings are not perfect. AI is potentially heading towards perfection, right, with everything it does, which I don't like. And so they resonate with you being a human. So tell me, like, do you think that's going to be a bigger value add moving forward with all of the things people are getting hit with?
100%, right? Like how many text messages do you get in a day and how many bots call you in a day? Like as a percentage of your total incoming text messages or phone calls. It's more than half, right? And so when you're easily. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to answer my phone. So then like if I actually call someone and they answer and I'm like, hey, I was thinking about you. And they're like, wait, really? For real? Yeah, dude, what's new in your world? And they're like, oh, let me tell you my life story, right? Because you don't get it. You don't get that at all anymore. And even like looking on social, we posted just listed and AI writes all those dumb captions and who cares? Everyone's bedroom's enchanting. And then you have me on there running my mouth in a stupid video and I write a long-winded post and everything that's typoed, long-winded, start a sentence with and, but, or, like you're not supposed to. They get thousands of views, and these ones over here that are AI, like 200 people look at them because, like, you don't care, actually.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Okay, so as we think about younger folks that are saying, hey, I know life has changed and I'm not making enough money. Inflation is destroying my spending power. I just got to do something different. Where would they start getting into? So we do 3 things. We buy real estate, oil and gas assets, and we buy and sell businesses. And we own 9 businesses. And I always tell folks, like, there's 2 paths to being wealthy. It's real estate or real property, and it's business. Those are really the 2 things. I mean, anybody that's made a lot of money, you can probably trace it back to one of those 2 things. But where should somebody start that's just like, man, I feel like I'm left behind and I'm lost, and I don't have that crazy energy that Amy has. Like, what do I do?
I think you got to latch on to someone who has it and who is doing it. And you basically just need to borrow from them. Like the young people, they show up and they're like, I don't really have the energy. I didn't sleep well. I'm not right. And it's like, I don't care. Actually, if you have the energy, I got a lot. Why don't you borrow some of it? And we'll even do like, all right, stand up. Take a deep breath, shake it out, right? Like puff out your chest a little because sometimes you have to like manufacture the energy. And if nothing else, being around people who have that energy will infect you with a little energy. So I think step 1 is like think about who you're trying to learn from. And if you're trying to build a business or become a real estate agent or even find your first investment, right? Like get yourself around some people who are doing it and start following what they do. And I think this is where like the young people, I'm always surprised when a young person asks a question that the device in their hand could have answered for them, because I feel like you guys grew up with this stuff. This should be the first place that you go, but they don't use it in the same way as we do. And so this is where I think things like AI are super useful, right? Because I would take, if I was a young person, I'm not a young person, but this is what I do with my little chat buddy, is
Back in
I'll be
my
like,
day.
chat. No, dude, chat can help you make a plan and tell you what to do. So, for example, you could be like, okay, I want to buy an index fund. Okay. And you can be like, chat, this is how much extra money I have every week. It's $50, it's $100, it's 500, whatever it is, right? Let's say I invested this in this for this much time. How much money does this turn into? And it can just do that math for you and show, it can be like, okay, chat, here's my car payment. Here's my auto loan. Chat, if I make extra payments on this, how much does it save you? Right. And maybe it's like, oh, it saves you $1,000 over 5 years. Who cares? I'm definitely not. So like using the technology to help you make decisions or to help you make like a pattern of activity, right? Okay, chat, pretend like you're a high performing real estate agent. I have this many hours in my day to devote to my business. I have no closed deals. How would you schedule my day? Right. And I think like recognizing that these tools are actually tools and using them that way is great. So first get around the people who are doing the thing and then manage your time well. So you're doing activities over and over again so you can build that confidence and build that humanity. And then recognize where you actually have an advantage over people who aren't comfortable. Like a lot of people in their 30s and 40s will tell you that they're not a tech person, right? And like if you're a young person coming up, whether or not you identify as a tech person, you're automatically better at it than someone who hasn't played with these tools,
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I have a thesis that we have all these amazing tools and they're normalizing the playing field. However, I think the people that are going to have a lot of success, build a lot of wealth are the doers, right? So you still have to do the thing, right? Like, all right, ChatGPT, tell me what the most successful salespeople. It's going to be like, you need to make this amount of phone calls every single day, do your follow-ups, meet with people. Like, it's the same thing that was the same thing 100 years ago in How to Win Friends and Influence People that Dale Carnegie was talking about. However, it can allow you to think about time blocking and what's my highest priority, how should I message? But then taking that knowledge to action, the faster you can do that every day is how you're going to beat other people. Whenever something comes up, I'm like, it's called the OODA loop. Orient, observe, decide, and act. Whoever can do that OODA loop the fastest wins. You don't even have to do it perfectly. You just need to know, like if I got into your business and I was like, I want to beat Amy, I'd be like, all right, she's making 50. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You got to say it again. The OODA loop, orient. This is so good.
Okay, this is like the military. I've got a great friend named Rob who's brilliant. And anyways, yes, this is the mental model that the military uses to beat each other. So fighter pilots, and I'm going to butcher this because I'm not a military guy, but there was a fighter pilot way back in the day that was trying to figure out how do we react quicker so we can outmaneuver everybody when we're fighting. And he said, okay, this is the construct. First, you've got to observe. Then you have to orient, right? So observe what's going on. Then you orient it. Hey, where am I? Am I upside down? What's my other person? And then the D and the A, though, are really the most, in my opinion, are the most important where people get stuck, which is decide and act. Orient, observe. Orient, observe, decide, act. I think, or maybe the two O's are misplaced. But the point is like, once you've understood what the playing field is, most people then observe. And what's that person doing? Are they making the fun? Do they have secret sauce? Do they have a hack? It's like, no, there's no hacks. You just got to do the work. But the people that will do that OODA loop, so how, let's put this into practice. You're like, hey, we got to do this thing. I want to be the top sales performer. The person that's just thinking and doing the ChatGPT as opposed to the person that gets that ChatGPT output and says, decide, act. I'm going to make the calls, make the calls, make the calls. And then as they're making the calls, they're doing another OODA loop to say, what is my script? Is it working? Is it not working? Should I be saying potato every time to make sure they know I'm human? But they're doing that really quickly instead of saying like, hey, I made 100 calls for 6 months and it's not working. It's like, well, why didn't you stop after the first week and say, what are you doing incorrectly? So anyways, that has been something that we've tried to implement in all of our businesses.
It's so good. And it's okay. I have a crush on Tom Hanks because I exist, right? So Tom Hanks he started writing
now, Amy?
I don't care. Actually, he's exactly the same age as my dad. So that's a different conversation.
Let's keep moving on.
Okay, one of his novels, I think it was Uncommon Type, which is about typewriters. One of the characters in there was like this like bomb secretary. And she had it was like her career trajectory they were talking in there. And she had an acronym that was really similar. It was listen, and it was let it settle, then enact. And this is why I freaking love reading fiction. Everyone's like, fiction's just trash. And it's like, man, actually, some stuff you pull out of there is really useful. And it's kind of the same thing where it's like, okay, new info in. Let's stew on this a minute. Let's figure it out. Let's make a plan. And then we get into action. And I think that's exactly it. So
100%.
we've transitioned to like, I don't know, 4 disciplines of execution, but with a digital dashboard, right? Because we know in a real estate transaction, first you have your activity, outbound, whatever it is. I'm in the DMs, I'm at open houses, I'm making phone calls, whatever. I'm outbounding. Okay. And then, okay, a percentage of those people I'm actually going to have a conversation with. Okay. So we'll call that a contact. I made contact with this many people. So this top of funnel is outbounding. Then I had this many conversations. Of those conversations, what percentage of them turned into an appointment? How can I get this from wherever we are now to you and I are sitting down and we're talking through a process in which the next step is we're going to sign a contract, right? I'm going to work with you to buy a house. You're going to hire me to list your house, right? I'm going to write an offer on this house, whatever it is. It's a contract next. Okay. And I think a lot of times we go into it like, all right, I need to sell 20 houses to make the number of money that I want to make or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, but what are the activities that you get there? So this is a result we're after, but really we can only control these top of funnel activities. And so if we are doing the action like we're talking about every day, every week, but we don't stop and kind of do a little debrief of, okay, well, I made 5,000 calls, but I only talked to 3 people. That's not a real great ratio, right?
Yeah.
Do I need to call at a different time? Is my number showing up as spam? Am I hanging up before they answer because I'm afraid they're going to answer? Like, what's actually the problem there? And when you keep track of your activities, it's easy to pinpoint like, oh man, I'm having hundreds of conversations, but I set 0 appointments. Maybe I need to ask. Maybe nobody's going to ask me to have an appointment. Or, hey, I go on all these appointments, but they never turn into contracts because I don't have the right words to say, well, the next step for us to move this forward is actually to look at this agreement. Can we walk through this right now? Let's see if you have any questions, right? And so that's kind of like the skill set of activity that we need to focus on to grow our business. And honestly, I think that applies to probably a lot of businesses.
Every business. I just reread 40X actually. And
So
I
good.
think most business owners and most people in life don't track from A to Z the action to the outcome, right? So like map it out on a piece of paper. Okay, my outcome is I want to make $200,000 a year selling real estate. So that means I need this amount of listings. That means I need to get this amount of conversations. I need this amount of contracts because some of them aren't going to actually happen. That means I like map it all the way out to the first action. And the first action is usually going to be making a phone call. So, all right, phone call forward all the way to the thing. And then look at the areas of failure. We use this with all of our businesses, and we've got an insurance company that we've doubled in like 2.5 years. And our sales team, I can actually coach them just based off the scorecard. I'm like, wow, you did a ton of calls and you had great quotes. That's awesome. You're not asking for the sale, are you? And they're like, yes, I am. And I'm like, really? I'm going to go listen to some of your calls because you had all the activity. You had way more, like you should have closed this amount of pieces of business this week. And what that tells me is you did everything perfectly. You got them on the phone. You went through their policies correctly. You talked the thing. And then instead of saying, hey, you know, what bank account should we use? How do I write your business? You know, blah, blah, blah. You probably said, well, okay, sounds great. I'll send you a proposal and let me call you next week. Instead of just saying, hey, we've created value. This is the value we've created. I'd love to earn your business. So I'd like to go ahead and ask you for that business. And it's so funny. Then like, they're like, all you're seeing is green, yellow, and red on the scorecard. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But I've reverse engineered that whole process. And I've done it so many times myself, probably millions of times at this point in time. Man, the amount of phone calls we've probably had in our life, Amy, do you ever think about that? Like it's incredible. It's probably depressing, but anyways, I think that's so important but then use that OODA loop philosophy on like, how do you iterate and get faster and decide I made a decision. I was failing in this. Oh, cool. Because I tell them, don't get discouraged. Literally go call all those people back and say, hey, I messed up. I forgot to ask you for your business. And I'm a great agent and I'd love you to work with us. We have an amazing agency. I'm like,
Yeah.
go make those phone calls and finish the OODA loop, finish that process. I love that. Okay,
I
we
think
got it.
like,
Go ahead.
okay, go ahead.
No,
I was
you're
just going to
good.
say, I think like, people as consumers are used to just being like, I want this thing, I clicked it, I bought it. And so when we're then in the sales position, we're just like, well, if someone wants to buy it, they're just going to put me in their cart. And it's
Mhm.
really not the same. So like, it seems so simple and so obvious to be like, would you like to work with me? Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But people just don't, they just don't ask.
Yep, 100%. It's really basic stuff, but it's important. And honestly, most people don't ask for the sale. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. It's
No.
like, wow, and anyways.
A question that we love to ask our potential clients is, do you know what your business is worth? And if you sold your business today, would it fulfill your personal and financial goals? If you're a successful business owner, but you don't know when or how to sell your business, and if you've ever wondered what each additional day in your business is actually costing you, we'd love to chat. If you're ready to spend more time with your family, your friends, or traveling, come sit down with our team, because when you work with exceptional business advisors, we'll help you build a blueprint to sell your business successfully and help you create, capture, and achieve your dream life. Don't wait for the right time. The time's now. Go ahead and scan the QR code or book a discovery appointment at excoadvisors.com.
Okay, so I want to change gears a little bit or shift gears. So you built this really successful brokerage, Brick and Bannister. What did you learn in business ownership that applies to life in general? And I've been really talking to my family, my kids, and people around me about principles. I only want to communicate and act on principles. Principles are just truth that's always truth, whether it be in business or life or health or whatever. It's always going to be the same, right? 1,000 years from now, truth is truth, gravity is gravity. So as you think about some of the principles you've learned in owning a business that you could apply to life in general, what are some of the ones that come to mind?
That's such a good question. The first one that comes to mind is I got it from the second broker I ever worked with. He was like a big investor and, always tell me about all his units. And he was like, I'm never fixing a stove. It's not worth it. It's not the right thing to do. I'm going to interrupt people's families and their household life more times than necessary. If a tenant calls me and says the stove is broken, I'm buying a new stove every time because it's the right thing to do, right? It's not necessarily the most cost effective, but it's the right thing. And I think that, is a core memory, right? Of me, little baby real estate agent learning the business is like, okay, what is the right thing to do in the situation? Who can own this outcome or whatever? And does it cost more to do it the right way now? Because I think so many times in life, you do the wrong thing in the moment and you pay for it for years and years and years, right? And I think the first time you do the wrong thing, you might be aware of it, but you also are maybe inadvertently giving yourself permission to continue to do the wrong thing. And I think a very common one most people can relate to is like their nutrition or their diet or, drinking too much or snoozing the alarm or whatever. It's like, it's real easy to be like, I don't really want to get on the treadmill this morning. I'm going to just let that go. And then like the next day, it's like harder to get on. And so I think doing the right thing as often as possible, even if you got the I don't want to's or it's going to cost you more, is huge. And I think it applies to life and business both.
I love it. Okay, so you're on social media a lot, and I'm on this campaign to absolutely annihilate bad social media influencers. Like there's so much bad content out there. There's so many people telling people how to do life and buy businesses and buy real estate that have never done it, that actually hurt people. Like people take that advice and go use it, which they shouldn't, right? You should always vet it. But what are some of the areas related to real estate investing that you think social media has gotten wrong?
Oh, dude, I hate social media. And I don't know if I could do my business without social media. I do hate it though. I hate it and I love to hate it and I actively hate it, but I still show up because honestly, it's the right thing to do for our business. But I think the biggest problem with social media is how reductionist it is. Make $1 million and these three things. And like everyone is shouting. Like, why are we shouting? Can we just talk in like a normal voice? I think the nice thing that I'm excited about for 2026 with social media is that the algorithm is rewarding sloppier content and more like rough, real, raw, because I think it helps distinguish from the freaking AIs. But I think the biggest thing is like how simple it is, right? Because even if you think about like, okay, the average age of first home ownership is like 38, 39 years old. Okay. I'm in my
Wow.
20s. I know. Isn't that terrible? It's
That's
actually so
wild.
terrible. This is my personal mission right now. See all the 20 somethings to buy a house because it's like, guys, you're going to have a rough life if you wait till you're 40. It's only going to get harder. You're going to have kids. You're going to have spouses. You're going to have opinions. Just like, please go buy a stinky house now. Okay. So the problem is that people are like, okay, well, homeownership isn't even my job until I'm 30. So I'm not even going to start thinking about this. Right. And then they'll like look online and they'll be like, oh, wait, I could like buy a house and then I'll be a millionaire. Right. And then they go and they get, any hungry real estate agent to help them. And they probably get into something that isn't actually what they're trying to do because they weren't able to clearly communicate their needs. And I think that's a big problem that social media has created is like people don't know how to look in the eyeballs and say, all right, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. And you really need someone to kind of guide you through that. So if you use social to be like, okay, who actually knows what they're talking about and shows up consistently to, tell me that they know what they're talking about. And when I hop in their DMs or call them up or whatever, like actually I have identified as a person who can help me and they can give me that plan of action to like get where I'm going. That's it. But like if you are like, I follow this person on the internet and they're in their fancy cars and they live in this big fancy house and they're like, okay, yeah, thanks for reaching out. Here's my course. That will be $17,000. Give me your credit card. Like, I just think there's so much of that, buy my course, do this thing. Also
Yeah,
making a
100%.
course. So now I'm like that annoying person too.
You're part of it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like we want to serve people well. And here's
Mm-hmm.
what I tell people, like, you should not be taking advice from somebody that is not the absolute proven, not that they just tell you, but proven expert in that space. There are so many good people that are great at marketing that have built a successful marketing company and have not done any of the things they say they're doing. There's tons of people that are talking about buying and selling businesses and this and that. And I'm like, so how many have you done? Well, I help people do that. I'm like, okay, so you've never owned a business of your own. Well, I own this business. So it's you and one admin. That's not a business really. It's kind of like a glorified job. So you're telling people to go buy these complicated things and you've never done it. Well, I know how to do it. I know the tools. I'm like, I understand. We've got to have a higher bar for how we're vetting advisors or people that we allow to influence us. And really walk it through. If somebody tells me, they're like, man, I made $2 million flipping this deal and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sweet. Walk me through exactly how you did that. Yeah. And they're like, well, actually, I worked with this guy and he was the thing. And I was like, okay, so how much did you make? Well, we netted $2 million. And I'm like, okay, how much did you make? Well, I netted like 10 grand. I'm like, okay, so you didn't net $2 million. And I think there's just a lot of this like BS that people are assuming this person they know exactly what they're doing. We have a core value in our A&D advisory company where we help people buy and sell businesses called the owner advantage. We will always own businesses. We will always buy and sell our own businesses, which we've done. We own 9 businesses right now. And we will always continue to operate businesses. So when they ask us a real question, how do I do this after I buy this business? We can say, here's what we are doing right now that has worked really well for us. You can use it or throw it out. That's okay with me. But I think people just go into social media and they're like, oh, this person, I'm going to pay for this course. And I'm like, that person has never owned a pice of real estate. Like, call Amy. She has owned real estate. She knows what she's doing, and tell her to say potato when she answers the phone.
Oh my
love
gosh.
that.
It's like, when someone's like I've been doing construction all these years. I'm a great crafts person. I can build beautiful things. And then they go start a construction company and it's terrible. It's awful because you may be really good at like framing or whatever. Right. But then when you go into the like, okay, how do I run the business piece of it? Or like, okay, actually, how do I lead these other framers to do the work that I now can't do? It's a completely different skill set that they have zero experience with. And I think that's a lot of it, even people who have, okay, I did buy deals and I did translate this into wealth and whatever. If I can't figure out how to replicate that experience for you, you shouldn't be buying from me or following me, right? Like, and what I did, right? Like I sold a lot of houses when the market was coming up. Is it harder for me to sell houses now than it was when the market was coming up? Yes. I have to hustle for it a lot harder. And I have the skill set and the experience to do that. And, I guess the pulse of the market to be able to acknowledge that things are different and I need to have different skills or different conversations. And if you're someone who has just kind of come up and done it for yourself, but you can't replicate that in someone else because you don't have the leadership or the tools or the skills to teach, people should also not follow you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when people ask me about kind of skill sets, when I always tell the story, when I moved to Texas to start our first oil company, I knew nothing about oil and gas, nothing. And this was 2010. And I told my wife, hey, we should move to Texas. We're going to start this business. And she didn't say you're crazy. She, was like, okay. And anyways, but I had a vision of becoming a master at business. Like the oil and gas industry is where I wanted to play in practice, but I was like, I really just want to know how is business, like business principles, right? What are the things that are always timeless that if I learn these things, that I'll be successful in any industry? And when people come in and they're like, yeah, I know finance and I'm going to buy this business and we're just going to smash them together and it's going to be an enterprise value or EBITDA arbitrage. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You've been an analyst and that's a useful skill. Like take that skill. But if you want to operate a business with human beings that are out there that are going to be crashing your trucks and you're going to get sued and all these things are going to happen, you need to focus on how do you learn business mastery? And guess what? There's a ton of really good books out there, but they're hard. They're not a 5-minute YouTube video of like, you can make $1 million if you buy a business. It's like, no, you need to learn those skills. And same thing with the operators. If you've been the technical expert in that business, I have installed HVAC systems for the past 20 years. Guess what? That's such a small piece of actually running the business. Now you need to do that well, but actually the people, the processes, and the profitability, those are the 3 areas that we always tie into. You got to figure out how to do those things well. And guess what? There's some really good books out there that can teach you how to do it for $10. But
And they're probably boring.
Yeah,
right?
they're really
most
boring.
people
That's
just
why no
won't
one
read
reads
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The greatest book.
Yeah.
I've been reading this book by Napoleon Hill that no one's read. I've never heard anyone mention it. It's called How to Own Your Own Mind. Everyone's read Think and Grow Rich. I've read that a dozen times. And I saw this book on Amazon. I was like, what? I've never heard of that. It's brilliant. It's exactly how you can architect the perfect life that you want. The tools, the skills, who you get around you. It's very simple. He's got these graphs, and it was written in, I think, like 1920. And it's all the same stuff. All that stuff is still the stuff that Tony Robbins is using, like the stuff that Ed Milet is using. All these guys have just taken these principles that are timeless and have marketed them in a better way. Okay, so as we start wrapping up, because I could talk forever, this is a lot of fun. If you had some advice for a young entrepreneur it's 2026 and they're like, man, things are changing fast. I feel like I'm getting left behind. What do I need to do, Amy? Like, what's one piece of advice? And then I want to close with just tools, books, resources, or anything else that you would want to share as well.
Okay, love it. One thing, if I wanted to get ahead, I would need to manage my time better than everyone else. I think, actually, I have no idea what people do all day. I'm always surprised when people are like, I don't have time because I'm like, you do less than I do. So how do you have less time? And I think getting really good at that, first of all, by tracking, okay, where does my time go right now? And then identifying exactly what you're talking about. Like, what are the processes? What are the activities that I need to do to move this needle forward, right? Like if I was a new real estate agent, it would be like, well, I need to learn the market. So every day during the week, I should probably see a few houses, right? I should probably study the market. I also need to, like we talked about, talk to humans. So is that on my calendar that every day I'm finding opportunities to talk to people and I'm tracking those metrics? And I really think that's where the money comes from, is managing your time well and making sure that you get those most important activities done before most of everyone else has even shown up, right? Like a lot of people have a hard time showing up to a 9 a.m. meeting. If you're done with your activities by 10, you're way ahead. And then I also think we underestimate the volume of activity that you'll need to do. Like you always think like, oh, well, I'm going to get it done faster, or I'm going to be really efficient at this, whatever. And then like one thing happens and it's been an hour and you haven't completed your stuff. And a lot of people are like, well, my hour's over. I guess I'm done now. And sometimes it's like, you know what? I might need to double, triple, quadruple down for a while until I can get that ball rolling, because once it's rolling, it's easier to keep it rolling. But if I'm only doing, 1 or 5 reps a day, it's going to take me a really, really long time to get that going. So really good time management and more activity than you think you need to, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. So 2 things. That's brilliant. The 10,000 hour rule, like it just takes a certain amount of hours to become a master at anything, but you can accelerate how many hours you do in a day, right? If somebody's like, hey, it's going to take us 5 years to get there, whatever the number is, we'll work in the evening some, or work more in the morning.
Yeah.
Or like you said, don't do this thing. I think one of the biggest things somebody could do and take out of this is write exactly what you said. Write down what you're doing all day and through the evening. Because I get the same thing. I don't work on the weekends, and I usually don't work at all in the evenings unless it's an emergency, which rarely happens because we have good systems. But people are like, I don't have time. How could you even do this? I don't have time. And I'm like, you have no kids. You don't own a business. You're W-2. I'm like, really write this down. And the reality is, what I find is most people are watching 2 to 3 hours of Netflix or football or sports in the evenings or in the middle of the day on their phone. They're doing social media, they're scrolling. If you just cut that out and said, hey, once I put my kids down and my wife goes to bed from 8 to 10 every night after I work, and I'm going to work on this other thing. Well, guess what? You do that for a year, you're going to have accomplished a lot of things. And every day I'm like, man, I got plenty of time. I got tons of time. And we have a ton of things going on right now, and you're probably the same way, but I'm really intentional with my time. And when we get home, it's like, it's family time. I'm not working. Mm-hmm. But when the kids go down, and if my wife goes to bed early, and I'm like, hey, I got some energy, I'm like, what book can I read? What skill can I gather? Or is there something in business that I'm excited that I want to work on the vision of that I'm going to execute next week or have the team execute on next week? I love that. What are some of the tools or books or podcasts or things that you're like really excited or into right now?
Kind of along with the time thing, I'm like very big on Dan Martell right now. I think that's where I started this whole time audit thing, right? So he has a book called Buy Back Your Time, and the whole process is in there. So I do a time audit. I try to do it once a quarter, but honestly, what happens is I get 2, 3, 4 days into it, and I'm already adjusting because it's just bringing the awareness to what I need to do. So I think the time management for me, that will forever be a thing. So I try to set it for a quarter and then look back and refine. And sometimes it needs to be a month because of whatever is happening in the world. So that is a huge one for me. And kind of in partnership with that is that Benjamin Hardy book, The Science of Scaling. Mm-hmm. And what I really love about that is creating targets that are so big. And sometimes, it's like, okay, we can do the 10X, but sometimes the way that you make your target bigger is by scaling the time. Because I'm kind of getting in this, like, am I old? Am I not old yet? Is time shrinking? Right? Like, I want to read a novel at 7:30. I would like to be reading a novel, not like answering questions for anyone, right? So it's like, how can I compress time? And I look at this on a big scale of like, okay, how can we do more volume in less months? But also I look at it in my day, right? Like, how can I be more effective with my activities through the day so I can get my entire workday in 4 hours or 6 hours, right? If I had to do my entire day's worth of activity in 2 hours, what would I change? And I think by playing with these kind of models and applying them and then going to go do them, like we talked about, you can really iterate into a schedule where like you get a ton of stuff done and then you get to go live this, really exceptional life where you're like, taking naps in the sun on the porch in the afternoon, right? That's what
it's incredible. And ultimately, like, I think what we all want is to have a consistent strategy around how to buy our time back, how to get our time back. And that's why we always encourage people, you've got to invest in something. You've got to invest in the market. You've got to invest in real estate. You've got to save and invest effectively. You got to either own or buy a business, because if you don't, you will not be able to buy your time back. You are going to be 75 years old as a greeter at Walmart trying to survive. And you have your energy and capacity when you're young. So defer a little bit of gratification. And every time you put $1 into an investment, just be thinking, sweet, I'm buying back some time to sit on the porch and take a nap in the sun. I'm buying back some time for me to hang out with my grandkids and be able to take them to Disney. I'm buying back time when my wife has a health issue that I'll be at the hospital and I don't have to worry about it because we got money and we got time. So I think if you can really tie that vision and crystallize it into the things that are important, then you don't feel like, oh, I'm deferring gratification by investing in this thing. I should really just spend this on a new car. It's like, no, I'm buying my time back and I'm going to buy that new car down the road. I'm out of cash flow. Amy,
some of it's so stupid small though too, and this is where like using the tech is good. Like I think the number is like $237 a month or something, and the S&P over 30 years is $1 million. Like so many people dump that on DoorDash or Target or Amazon. Like,
100%.
man, it's tiny, set it up, and then you can build and refine from there. You do not have to have it all figured out, but you got to start today.
And teach your kids. I mean, we have literally, when our kids had enough capacity to understand, they work, they get some money when they work, and we're like, all right, you're going to have to put some of this into an investment account. And then we're like, okay, here's what you bought. You own a piece of Apple. You own a piece of this company that is this company. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you own businesses. You own a piece of businesses. And for them using your money, they're going to pay you money or they're going to grow, one of the two. And they're like, what? That's crazy. And then now they're asking my wife, who's a financial advisor, okay, how many businesses do I own now? And like, how much money do we have in there? My parents never taught me any of this stuff. So they're starting when they're 5 or 7. Even if they don't fully understand it, if they just start putting a little bit of money away and just kind of have that habit of investing. And I don't believe really in saving. Like saving, your money's going to get diluted. You got to take that money and put it to work somehow, right? In a way that you know, whether it's just an index fund, just like Warren Buffett, hey, throw everything into an index fund. If you don't want to focus on actively managed assets like real estate and businesses and that sort of thing, you just got to be way better at investing consistently. I love that. Amy, it's always so much fun to hang out with you. Where can people find you after they hear all this wisdom and they want to hang out with you?
Oh, you can find me on the good old internet, Chris.
On the internet.
On the good old internet. I am Amy_Renee on Instagram, and I'll spell that for you because it's silly. It's AMY_RANAE. On Instagram, that's the best place to find me. I'm also on Facebook. Same deal. So would love to see you, and please hit my DMs and say hey.
I love it. And ask her potato. I'm going to keep repeating that.
And if you're in Minnesota or Western Wisconsin and you're thinking about buying or selling a house, we sure would love to help you through that process. Or if you're a real estate agent and you're not doing as good as you've been doing, man, I'd love to help you.
I love it. Amy, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have you back again down the road. Appreciate you.
Thanks a bunch, Chris.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Exceptional Companies Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like this show, please reach out through our website, www.excoadvisors.com, for free tools to order a copy of Selling Main Street, or to sign up for our free webinar on how to sell your Main Street business.